Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, master's in counseling psychology, longtime astrologer, psychic healer, and yogi. In this episode, my guest is Kathleen Nichols. Kathleen is a light worker, transformational spiritual coach, and ascension way shower. She's also a holistic health practitioner and is going to talk about an amazing cutting-edge technology. You're going to want to stay tuned to find out more. Hey listeners, I want to remind you to support Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine podcast. You can do that by going on to www.buzzsprout.com/958-528/support. This will be in the show notes. Welcome to the episode featuring my guest, Kathleen Nichols. Kathleen is going to share a very powerful cutting-edge technology with us. But before that, I want to tell you a little bit about her background. Kathleen is a light worker, transformational spiritual coach, and an ascension way shower. She was trained as a holistic health practitioner and has been in the healing arts for over 25 years. She owns Starfire Healing Center, a thriving business in Southern California, where she raised her 2 children. Kathleen is trained in many traditional modalities of bodywork, including polarity therapy, applied kinesiology, Jinseng, energy healing, shamanic healing, and she is a Reiki master. She's an expert at understanding the body-mind-spirit connection and the related interconnected systems. In addition, she has had the privilege of receiving downloads from Source regarding other forms of healing techniques that she incorporates in her sessions. Her vision is to author a book sharing and teaching these downloaded healing techniques to the world. During her personal healing journey, she became interested and focused on trauma resolution. That prompted her to return to formal education, receiving her master's in clinical psychology with an emphasis in somatic psychology and pre- and perinatal psychology. Blending the healing arts with the 2 psychologies, she was able to facilitate her clients coming back home to themselves and actualizing their creator talents. This marrying of Eastern and Western paradigms birthed into quantum healing sessions, helping people release blocks, challenges, past life entanglements, and more, and facilitating the recalibration and reconfiguration to their original soul blueprint, supporting them to actualize their soul's mission. 4.5 years ago, Kathleen was introduced to some cutting-edge technology that helped save her daughter's life. With this technology, she realized the impact for helping humanity and increasing the consciousness of the planet has no limits. She has been sharing this technology now for 4.5 years, and her team has helped over 60,000 families' lives be transformed. She is a senior presidential director, achieving top leader status within her company, LifeWave, and also receiving LifeWave's 2023 Humanitarian of the Year Award for helping Maui fire victims. Today, she is here to share about this technology, LifeWave, that is taking the health and wellness industry by storm. You can reach Kathleen at 808-359-1376 or her email, Kathaleen.Nichols@gmail.com. That's KATHALEEN.Nichols, NICHOLS@gmail.com. Medical disclaimer for Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. Jill Jardine and Kathleen Nichols are not licensed medical practitioners. This information being shared in this episode is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatments. The information provided is for informational and educational purposes only. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome to Cosmic Scene Kathleen Nichols. Welcome, Kathleen.
Oh, thank you so much, Jill. And I'm so honored to be here speaking to you on the podcast. I'm really excited about our connection and collaborating in the future with different different projects.
Thank you. You know, I was so impressed by your bio and all the healing work that you've done in your life. And I'm excited about, and I know my listeners are very excited about hearing about LifeWave technology and what your journey with that has been, as well as maybe even sharing your family's journey with that. So, without further ado, let's jump in with LifeWave and the healing modality and what people can benefit from knowing about this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jill. And so, yes, the company's called LifeWave, and it has really just brought our latest amazing revolutionary technology onto center stage. About 5 years ago, this patch that we're going to be speaking about came on and was accessible to the public. And it's really, Jill, it's really taken the, health and wellness industry by storm. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with, kind of what the premise of it is. And the inventor and owner is named David Schmidt. And so, really, what he started to explore, over 10 years ago is why do we age?
Yes.
So, yes, exactly.
We
Why
all want
do
to know
we
that.
age? Right, because then we could possibly stop it, correct?
Yes.
So that was really what prompted him. And the actually aging is not inevitable. There are very two clear specific things that happen in your body that create the aging process. And I'd like to start there and kind of walk us through that.
Yes. Fascinating.
Per- Perfect. So there are two different. So GHK copper peptide, that is a copper peptide that you are born with in your body, and it's in charge of everything youthful, vital, everything young and alive and energetic. Really on all levels, Jill, on your physical, your mental, your emotional, even your spiritual level. That GHK copper peptide holds that container of health for you. And then, of course, GHK is paired and partnered with your stem cell production, activation, and the ability of your stem cells to repair and regenerate. So, those are the two things that keep us young, youthful, and vital. And I'm going to kind of go a little more specific into the benefits of them in a minute.
All right. So let me just mirror that back for our listeners. So we're talking about aging being affected by something called the DHK copper peptide, which is in charge of everything that keeps us young and vital. And there's a direct connection to the DHK copper peptide with stem cell and perhaps stem cell production, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. GHK copper peptide elevation and production in your system and stem cells go together.
Okay.
So what happens though, Jill? So those two mechanisms, they're in charge of keeping us young, youthful, and vital.
Yes.
What happens is at 35, you lose half of your production of the GHK copper peptide and
Wow.
half of your stem cells go dormant.
Wow.
Right. So that's at 35. Half of those things cease to be operating in your system to keep you young. So, and if you think about it, that's about the time we started maybe not, recovering as quickly from a wound or an illness, or you might have started to see fine wrinkles creeping in around that age.
Yeah. And some people get gray hair even that early.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that would have been, the decrease in the GHK copper peptide and the decrease in the stem cells activity. So that's at 35. Half of those are diminishing, and then fast forward, Jill, to 60, and basically you have no more GHK copper peptide being produced in your body.
Oh my gosh. No more at
I know.
60 and older. It's like you're done with the DHK copper peptide. That's a little sad.
You pretty much are.
Yeah.
And you're also, pretty much the rest of your stem cells have gone dormant. So you have about 8% of your stem cells that are still active once you reach 60
Yeah.
and beyond.
Oh wow.
So I know. So that right there is the nutshell on why we age, because of the dropping of those two mechanisms. So I just want to give you a little idea of the benefits of GHK copper peptide. And it's really interesting because that peptide's popularity is really, it's really becoming, a lot more prevalent. People are becoming more aware of what it does. But historically, Jill, it was the beauty industry that was aware of this copper peptide because, of course, it keeps the skin thick and moisturized and with
Yeah.
all of your collagen, right? GHK reduces the fine lines and the depth of the wrinkles, and your hair is, thick and luscious and growing and all of those things. So that's what the beauty industry is interested in. So they are the ones that knew about it historically. I do want to give a shout out to Dr. Lauren Picard,
Yep.
who did 50 years of research on GHK copper peptide and its benefits. So you can look that up on pub.med. And Dr. Lauren Picard, he's just, just a huge volumes of research that he did. So of course, those are amazing results to skin and hair. But the other thing that this peptide does is it's lung protection. So any type of
Wow.
lung issues, pulmonary issues, any type of, functioning of the cells and how they start getting damaged based on whatever you know, whatever lifestyle choices you have. So it's all about lung health
Yeah.
and lung protection. It actually improves if you have lung damage. It starts reversing that and gets the lungs repaired.
This has
So
been proven that DHK copper peptides do that, right? There's
correct
that this is
with
the research of Dr. Lauren Picard has did that over many years. Interesting. So that goes beyond like the beauty industry.
correct.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes way beyond. I got about 5 different categories that copper peptide really hones in on that repair and regeneration of our body. And yes, all clinically proven by Dr. Lauren Picard's work. So we have the lungs that I just went through, all of the health of the lungs. Also, Jill, amazing, but it helps fast growing cells. So it stops fast growing cells from starting, which, that's the big C word, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it stops if you do have the C, it stops the proliferation of those cells. So
Yeah.
it stops the growth of that, um, thing happening in your body.
Yeah.
And it also stops those cells from reproducing. So it's got a lot of really amazing, anti fast growing cells
Yes.
features of it. It also protects the brain and the nerves, anything to do with your cognition, anything to do with memory loss, anything to do with your spinal cord, your nerves, neuropathy, all of that stuff.
Wow.
You know, decreases stress, decreases anger. It's
Interesting.
amazing.
Yeah.
I know it brings a general sense of well-being. So anything to do with the brain and the nerves, of course, amazing antioxidant powers, and of course, the activates your stem cells. So yes, GHK copper peptide gets those dormant stem cells moving again, and it allows those stem cells to get reset and activated and start moving into a more younger, healthier state.
That's amazing.
So right. So that, I mean, just all of that alone is GHK copper peptide. So we want a proliferation of that in our body. We want that elevated so that we still get all of the benefits of it. So when it goes into activating the stem cells, that's really when you're starting to move into that rejuvenation, that repair, regeneration, renewal, all of that.
Yes.
And I'm not sure. Do you know much about stem cells or what stem cells
Well, I
are?
mean, I think I know what most people do out there, that there's been a lot of discussion about stem cell therapy, but I think that has to do with like transplanting organs and things like that. I mean, in the allopathic medical tradition, what they're doing with stem cells, that's what everybody tends to hear about. But I don't think people really know what the real purpose of them are and how they can be activated without a transplant or, the Western medical way of stimulating them.
Right. Yeah. Yes, it is. Stem cell therapy is definitely, the leading buzzword for any type of rejuvenation in the health and wellness industry right now. And historically, you're right. You could pretty much only get it from injections, possibly other people's DNA, which is, tends to be skeptical on my part. And then, or or your own, but when you're
Yeah.
pulling out your own, they spin it around and they put it back in, but they're
Right.
still your dormant stem cells. And it was invasive and it costs a lot of money. And currently it's not even, I believe, legal in the United States.
Wow.
So, right. So a lot of people would go to Mexico for it. So at any rate, you're right. This technology that we're going to get into in a minute on how it works is really an amazing solution to, activating your own stem cells naturally and non-invasively. But before that, I just kind of want to give a kind of just a brief overview of what stem cells are. So to all your listeners out there, Jill, yourself and me, every single part of your body used to be a stem cell.
Okay.
So that's how important they are. So just think about it for a moment. When you were a fetus in your mama's belly, it was all stem cells.
Okay.
And they knew, they had the template of your body. They have that divine intelligence. They're almost like God creation codes is what I refer to them as.
Right.
And so they knew exactly what to differentiate into, your brain, your nervous system, your organs, your liver, your hair, your eyes, your toes. Every aspect of your body used to originally be a stem cell.
Wow.
So that's how important they are. It's literally the foundation, the building block, the blueprint of your body. So just kind of wanting to give that, that kind of a background on what stem cells are and what GHK copper peptide does. And so as I move into talking about the technology, I just want to remind everybody that both of those things, you're losing half of them at 35 and the other half at 60. And that is why you age.
Right.
So
I wonder, like, if people do any kind of advanced yogic practices, maybe they can waylay that a little bit. But it's an actual, I think maybe advanced yogis might have a take on it, but other people, the rest of the population, they don't know what to do about that. And so that's where I think the LifeWave technology might be something that people want to know about, because instead of going to a cave and meditating and getting connected to source, there might be an easier way to activate that the stem cells.
yes, absolutely. So David Schmidt, who I referred to earlier, about 10 years ago, he really was asking that question: why do we age?
Yeah.
It prompted him to go into the laboratory. He spent millions of dollars and 10 years of research, and he discovered this patch called the X39 Master Cell Activation Patch. And so what it is, Jill, it's non-transdermal wearable light technology. So the patch it's about the size of a quarter
Yep.
or so. Inside of it, it's adhesive tape, so you actually adhere it to your body so it sticks.
Yep.
And inside the patch is, a little circle that is like a cloth sealed. It's a cloth sealed in there. And what it is inside that circle is a bunch of nanocrystals that form a crystalline structure. And so it's comprised of amino acids, water, stabilized oxygen, and salts. And like I said, they form a crystal lattice structure. That structure is reflective. So it acts like a mirror.
Okay.
So when you place the X39 on your body, the patch reflects your own body's light back into your tissues.
Wow.
Right? So
Yes.
I know. So we would, that body's light, that's body heat. Most people know it as body heat, but I believe your listeners are probably really, apprised of the fact that we're emitting light, right? We're light
Right.
beings.
Exactly. We're light
Yes.
beings, and some people have more than others. And so, wow. So this patch is basically activating it, as you said, mirroring it back, and it's also increasing the light energy within your being. It sounds like.
Right. Yes, basically. So what's happening is that body heat, which we know is low infrared light, for people that are not sure about that, think about, when you've seen, military movies or science fiction movies, and they're wearing the night goggles, and the people they're looking for in the jungle are glowing green. That
Right.
is your body heat. That is your low infrared spectrum light.
Okay.
So low infrared light. So what happens is when you wear the patch, that that little mirror that I talked about reflects your body heat, your low infrared light back into your body at a very specific signal that, guess what, Jill, tells your copper peptide to start elevating again.
Wow.
So it
That's
elevates.
that's amazing.
Yes. So, right. So it elevates the GHK in your blood and subsequently gets those dormant stem cells activated. So, so that's why, um, it's going to start repairing and regenerating. So what happens is you start getting all of those healing benefits of the GHK copper peptide that I went through, because you're getting the elevation of that in your blood. And then based on the elevation of that, all of those dormant stem cells are going to get up and start marching, and they're going to start acting like they're young again. So they actually are able to change into whatever your body needs. They're going to go repair and regenerate whatever they've has been aged and deteriorated and declined. They're going to go repair and regenerate that, and they are also going to be able to turn into whatever your body needs, which is a pluripotent cell. So they scan your body and they determine what needs to become. So for example, say they scan my body and they decide that they need to become a liver cell. They turn into the liver cell, land on my body, and start turning that liver young again.
That is
So
wild. So what are they called? Those are called, can you say that again? What those
yeah,
stem cells?
it's pluripotent,
Pluripotent
pluripotent
stem cells.
cells. Yeah, and all that means is that they have not differentiated yet. So they have the ability to turn into whatever your body needs, and they know they have that divine intelligence to bring your body back into optimal health and repair and regenerate on whatever level. So they're going to go fix the first thing, the most critical thing that's going on with you, Jill. Say maybe you have something going on with your heart, heart disease or liver disease. They are going to actually go and fix that first,
Okay.
and then they will go to the next thing and the next thing. So depending on what you have going on with your own journey, you will, some people feel the activation and the repair happening pretty quickly. Other people, it takes a little longer, because if they, like I said, had something going on with the heart, they might not necessarily feel that right away, while it repairs that.
Right.
So but rest assured, the patch, the very first patch, Jill, is already reversing our age. It's already setting 4,000 genes back to younger expression. That's the first patch that you're wearing, is already doing that. So it's pretty amazing. I mean, the non-transdermal, of course, is nothing goes into your skin. So I really want to be clear that there is no stem cells
Yeah.
in this patch at all. There's
Yeah.
nothing crossing the skin barrier from this patch. It's called light therapy. The big fancy word is photobiomodulation. But all it means is that it's reflecting your light, your body heat, back into your body at a very specific signal that says elevate GHK copper peptide and get those dormant stem cells moving and start acting like you're younger again and repairing your body back to a younger state.
Oh wow, this is fascinating. But I have a couple questions for you that I think listeners may having too about this. The copper DHK peptides. Do we know where they're created in the body? I'm feeling like they're a little mystical and they might be connected to the third eye, but who am I, or the pineal gland? Do you have any idea where they may be created and we start losing them as we age? I wonder where they come from, right?
Right. So they come in the blood, and you do need to have copper in your diet in order for the GHK copper peptide to be elevated in your system. So the raw material, of course, is copper. Well, you get that from spinach, from dark chocolate, from eating liver. I personally take a copper supplement because it really allows the patches to do their jobs a lot better. So if you're deficient in copper in your diet, then the patches are still going to do their job, but they're going to be struggling a little bit. So it comes from the raw material copper, and then it develops that uh, amino acid, and it elevates and starts doing all of its healing and repair.
Well, that's amazing because we do know copper is a conductor with so many other things. I mean, those of us in the holistic movement have worked with copper grids and copper instruments. And the other thing is that copper, as I said, is a conduit. So it seems like there's a connection with that. And that also speaks to the popularity of those drinking bottles that you can get that are actually copper that are out
Yes.
there. That now explains why it would be a good idea to get one of those as well. So all the benefits of having the copper and then the activation through the patches. The other thing I wanted to comment on is that I like this as a healer myself of many years because it feels homeopathic in nature, which it's vibrational. And as we know that if you want to know the universe, as Nikola Tesla says, everything is vibration, energy, and frequency. So
Yeah.
here we are. We've entered that realm in healing, and I love it. But homeopathic in the fact that it will go layer by layer. So it's not going to be like a, wham, this is operating. It's more subtle, but as it's subtly working through peeling off these layers that have interfered with keeping our youth and vitality.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's absolutely exactly what you said. And homeopathic is a good way to look at it. The way I look at it is it's harnessing your body's light to heal itself.
Love that. Yeah. Harnessing your
You know,
body's light to heal itself.
right. And as it should be. We're beings meant to be repairing and regenerating, and based on whatever's going on in our environment or all the different things on the planet, that has not been the case. So having this tool in order for your body to heal itself as we were designed to do is absolutely remarkable.
So
So
you and I being in the holistic community for many years, we're like, of course, this totally makes sense. You've seen it work on many different people. What about making my producer just sent me a question. Why not make garments out of this material to activate?
you know what? That's so interesting that you say that, because um, we have, I know David has kind of thought about that, but honestly, it's systemic. So even though it's just a little patch being worn, basically on the back of your neck, when it does that frequency and that signal, it's all systemic. So everything's happening throughout your whole body.
So it doesn't
So it,
matter how big it is. Like you don't need to wear a garment. Maybe that's what
it
these space age garments we're going to see coming forth in 50 years are going to be made out of. But very
right,
interesting. Yeah, on
right.
principle, you don't need to cover your body. Whether you just need to activate that little patch, and I understand too that they're put on acupressure points or acupuncture points on the body to get more impact because those are energy highways. So, did you want to speak to that? The location of
Yeah,
the patches?
absolutely. And you're right on. They are on different acupuncture lines, which is like a distribution portal system, right? An energy center in the body. And so, of course, we had to choose places to do our clinical studies. And so David chose, on the governing vessel C7, that knobby vertebrae right behind the back of your neck, or also below your belly button on the conception vessel. So those are the two recommended spots. But honestly, Jill, if I get off this interview with you and I sprain my ankle, I'm going to pull off my patch off the back of my neck and put it on my sprained ankle, because any spot will do, because we're emitting light everywhere. And then, for example, if I did put it on my ankle, it's going to laser focus on the ankle. And then, of course, the systemic elevation of the peptide and the stem cells will be happening throughout the body. So any spot will do. However, we do have those, on the back of the neck and below the belly button. You do wear it, Jill, for 12 hours on and 12 hours off. So, for example, you wear it, from 7 a.m., 7 or 8 a.m. till 7 or 8 p.m. So during those 12 hours that you're wearing it, that's when the elevation of the GHK copper peptide and the mobility of the stem cells is happening. And then you take it off, you leave it off for 12 hours, and that's when all the repair and regeneration is occurring. So then you put a new one on the next day. So, for example, a 30-day supply is 30 patches. And so it's like light on for 12 hours and then light off while it repairs and regenerates.
That makes so much sense because then the body is again working with its innate intelligence, knowing what to do, gets the stimulation, the activation for 12 hours, and then the integration for the 12 hours off. So, such a conscious application of a healing technology. Kathleen, when we come back, I'd love you to speak to some testimonies of people because maybe some people here listening to this are a little skeptical, but I know that you have some testimonies of people who have used it to cure various things and the results, as well as your own journey with your family. So, and we'll also let people know how they can get these patches and start their process themselves.
Yes, absolutely. I do want to say one quick thing, Jill. You know, it's just really simple. It's like if you think about how the sun activates your skin and then
Yes.
your body produces vitamin D, same exact phenomena, except with the patch, it's your light that's doing it. So you wear the patch, your body heat activates the patch, sends a frequency into your body, the signal that then does all the things we were talking about. So it's exactly the same way as how the sun works. It's just that you're the sun in this example. So that might make things a little more simplified.
That's excellent. Thank you for clarifying that, Kathleen. When we come back, you're going to share some testimonies, and we're going to also let listeners know how they can get the LifeWave patches. It's a great time to book a reading. So check out my website, jilljardineastrology.com/shop, and pick the kind of reading or service you would like. Welcome back. My guest is Kathaleen Nichols, and we're talking about LifeWave healing technologies. Welcome back, Kathleen. You wanted to backtrack a little bit and talk about the history of the company and some of the developments and how it's been validated in society for the past 20 years?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for, I'm glad you're rejoining. So, yes, a little bit of the history of the company. LifeWave is 20 years old. This November, Jill, is going to be our 20th anniversary.
Wow.
And so I know, right? We've been around for a long time, just a really stable, solid company that had other supplemental patches. But when David figured out how to communicate with that stem cell pathway and get that stem cell pathway, activated and moving and marching again, it actually just blew our company up. We've grown 2,000% since X39 came on the market a little over 4 years ago. That is 20 times, which is amazing. And I demonstrate and tell you that statistic because I just wanted to let you know how well this patch works, how many families we have helped transform, and the reach that we have. So we're clinical study backed and also patented. So we have over 100 clinical studies. We have over 130 patents. 70 of those are in regenerative science and medicine.
Wow.
And we distribute to 81 countries. So you might think, well, then why haven't I heard about you? Well, because like I said, we were a stable company with all these other supplemental patches that work with the same photobiomodulation. They were just doing other things. But when the X39 hit the market, the holy grail of healing, it just took, the health and wellness industry by storm. We actually, Jill, just received the Growth Award, and we just received the award for the fastest growing company in the world in the
Wow.
health industry. I know, right? So we're absolutely, science-based, patent-based, and having a far reach out into the world. But just to give you an idea of how it started, it's a really fascinating story. So 20 years ago, David Schmidt was approached by the Department of Defense, and they asked him if he could figure out a way to keep the Navy SEALs awake naturally on their missions, right? Their submarine missions that are 36, 72 hours. They were being kept awake by amphetamines and caffeine, which was not, good for their system.
Right.
So David was commissioned to figure something out. And what he figured out was our first patch, which was the energy enhancer patch. And so the Navy SEALs, they wore it. They were able to stay awake naturally. The military actually still wears all of our patches. Um, and then David actually took the energy enhancer patch to Stanford College to the swim team, Robert Wick, who was getting the girls' swim team ready for the Olympics. They wore that patch for 3 weeks, and 6 out of the 8 girls went to the Olympics and got their personal record at the competition. And they brought home many, many medals. That was the same year that Mike Phelps got all his medals for the same reason. So kind of an interesting story because the doping agency, of course, said, oh my gosh, all of these contestants and Olympic participants have won all these medals. And what is this patch they're wearing? So it prompted that doping agency to do their own third party investigation because, of course, nothing can go into the skin.
Right.
And they determined that, yes, the patches were absolutely non-transdermal. Nothing was crossing the skin barrier. And all of those Olympic winners were able to keep their medals. So
that's a wild backstory. I did not know that.
yeah.
That's fascinating. But you have heard about the Navy SEALs and how they stay awake and how they take something that's not drugs, and that you've got to wonder like how some of these people perform the way they do. And now we're finding out the mystery is LifeWave patches.
Yes, David Schmidt and his energy enhancer. Thank you. Right. So
Yes.
but I did want to touch a little bit more on my personal journey, Jill, if that's okay.
That would be fabulous. I know that it's affected you personally, and that you've had a lot of testimony from others who have taken the patch when you've introduced
Yes.
it to them. So we'd love to hear about that, Kathleen.
Okay, and just so you know, our team alone in the last 4.5 years has helped 100,000 families.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's, there's nothing like it when that person calls you back up and they're like, I'm out of pain, I'm sleeping better, I don't need the knee replacement anymore. My mom's memories coming back. I mean, it's everything you can imagine from A to Z, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. So for my own personal journey, I've been on them now for 4.5 years. I'm 58. I started when I was 53. I would have told you there was nothing wrong with me at all. And of course there wasn't, right? We're all perfect as we are. But right away, Jill, it was, my level of joy. It was like a container of joy frequency was just abounding everywhere. I'm already really upbeat, but the joy was just off the charts. My energy level, brain fog went away. My cognition, I swear to gosh, my vocabulary came back. I was able to, pull out $1 million words out of the ethers that I used to have at my fingertips in my 20s. So that kind of thing. My skin resurfaced, like all my pores closed. I had a 30-year injury of that I wasn't able to move my thumbs due to a snow machine accident in Alaska. That repaired. I had a numbness in my iliotibial band from an illness 18 years ago. The feeling came back. This is amazing, Joe. All my hair fell out during COVID. You could
Wow.
see this. Yeah, so that's a phenomenon that happens to people 2 months after having COVID, a third of the population. So you could see my scalp. It was crazy. So all my hair grew back, and it's thick and luscious and amazing. My gum, I had bleeding gums. Those pockets all closed. And the latest thing is the bone grew back in my jaw. I was having bone loss in my jaw.
Oh
So
my gosh, that's wild. And for people who are listening, there is sort of a time frame of this all coming together. Like I know, like after 4 weeks, something happens. Within 6 weeks, within 3 months, within
oh
6 months.
yes.
So maybe relating that too to your own journey. Like maybe it didn't happen all within the first 3 weeks, but it was over a time period that you really saw it get to critical mass.
Yes. So, even the bone is my recent thing. I would say that's about 6 months ago, 8 months ago. And so that was, 4.5 years. So around 3 years, 3.25 or so, my bone grew back in my jaw. But yes, there is a timeline that I do like to demonstrate. Thank you for reminding me. And so what happens, and this is all based on our clinical studies. So what happens is at 6 weeks, your brain is balanced. And what that really means is your left and your right hemisphere are now talking to each other. that's going to relieve PTSD, anxiety, depression, Asperger's, ADHD, any mental, slipping of cognition, memory loss, all of that. So that is mental and emotional at 6 weeks. At 2 months, your heart's becoming younger. We have gentlemen that are 79 years old that are getting their heart scanned. They're now 50 years old in the picture, their heart. Doctors can't believe it. So, of course, the doctor joins our team. We have a lot of MDs on our team. So that's at 2 months, heart becoming younger. At 3 months, all your collagen is getting repaired. So all of the women, yes, you start looking younger, feeling younger. And that's an amazing marker to hit. And then Jill, at 6 months, we're literally reversing our age, because remember that stem cell that's landing on my liver that turned into a liver cell?
Yes.
It's turning that liver young again. And so you're reversing your age. So here at LifeWave, we actually talk about health span versus lifespan.
Oh, I love
Lifespan
that.
is,
Health span.
yes, right. Lifespan is like that bell shape. You're born, you develop, you peak, and then you decline. That's lifespan. But here at LifeWave, we talk about health span, which is about feeling your optimal prime age around 30, even while you get older, 60, 70, 80. My dad, who's 83, is, he's about 60 right now, and he's loving life. So health span is where we're at LifeWave here. But, I do want to touch on my daughter really quick, because it's the reason I share these patches. And it goes back to that first timeline marker of 6 weeks where your brain is balanced and it relieves PTSD and anxiety and depression. So my daughter, Sienna Lene, who was 13 at the time when we got the patches. She was a golden girl, Jill, star of everything, straight A student, star dancer, star athlete, star singer. She was golden, as all the children coming on the planet are now. And she had a horrible trauma. And then right after that, she had another horrible trauma, which was her best friend dying.
Oh,
So she
wow.
had, yeah, 13 years old,
Yeah.
she had back to back horrible life altering traumas. And Jill, it threw her into darkness. My bright star crashed, and she, was super dark. She hated herself. She hated me, and she hated the world. And yes, she was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, depression. A's went to F. She didn't engage. She stopped dancing, singing, all of it. Super scary. 6 months of darkness, scary. Tried everything. Nothing was helping. All the modalities, all the therapists, etc. Anyways, she was actually suicidal and wanted to exit the planet, and had, you know, pretty much decided this one Tuesday evening that she was going to exit. And so, of course, we were alerted to by her friends. We intervened. We made it through the night. The next morning, the patches arrived. I had no idea they would help her because I was brand new. I just was putting them on her because, like I cut the apple in half. Here, half for you, half for me. I put the patch on her. In 5 days, Jill, the cloud was lifting. The dark cloud was lifting. She was starting to smile. 10 days, she's wearing clean clothes. She's washing her hair. She's starting to engage with friends. 3.5 weeks, there we are. We went to Oregon for Christmas. There's my daughter laughing and singing and dancing at the top of her lungs. I burst out crying. She grabs my hands and she says, Mama, you have no idea how different I feel in my body. And I said, yeah, yes, I do. So that was 4.5 years ago, Jill. She got back into dance. And the amazing part of the story is she got into one of the best dance colleges you can in New York City. And she went there as of last year. Since then, she's decided to do something else with her life, but she is rocking the world and, completely integrated whole healing and beingness. So that's why
Wow.
I share the patches. Yeah,
Thank
saved her
you for
life.
sharing that story. That's amazing. And it was such a short time period, if I heard correctly. It was within like six weeks
So
originally.
3.5 weeks. Yeah,
Wow.
3.5 weeks is where she really made the shift to where it was like, there's my girl again. There was my bright star again at 3.5 weeks. And the interesting thing is 3 weeks later is when they published the brain mapping study that said, hey, it'll also, help your brain heal, relieving PTSD, anxiety, depression. So that I said, I was a mic drop. I said, oh, that is what happened to my girl, Sienna. So it all just went click, click, click. And I said, I've got to tell the world about this and help people with the struggles and challenges that they are experiencing on all levels.
So you have like this fascinating testimony of how it helped you, but then with your daughter, which I think it might have been so much faster with her because she was younger, right? And maybe more stem cells activated. So that's good to know where there's a preponderance of young people who have anxiety and stress and trauma. And it doesn't seem like people are finding a way to deal with it. So that's just a whole nother layer of the efficacy of this technology. I love it. And thank you so much for sharing that. So we should probably let people know how they can get these. Kathleen,
Yes, absolutely. Great idea.
is there a website that they can go to?
Yes, so you can go to lifewave.com/Jill That's lifewave.com/JILLJAR. And also, they could also call me and I can help support them. Jill, my number is 808-359-1376. And I can help them, really get on customize a kit for them and get on what they really can help them with their health journey.
Yes, and definitely tell you that they heard you on Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. So there is help in health and living your health span. So that's good to know. There's help in expanding your health span. Kathleen Nichols has been my guest on this episode, sharing all this beautiful information and wisdom about the LifeWave technology and LifeWave patches. So check it out. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Kathleen.
You're so welcome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And yes, Jill, there is absolute hope. Live younger, live longer, live better, right?
Right. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cosmic Scene with my guest, Kathleen Nichols. Speaking of LifeWave technology, fascinating and powerful healing technology. Make sure you download, subscribe, share, and give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, signing off, sending healing LifeWave vibrations, waves, and increasing health span energies through the quantum field.